In this video, I'll be sharing with you a tutorial on how to cut this stylish backless ruched shirt. So this dress is from locks by fm underscore on Instagram. So to start, here's my pattern, and I'm gonna have to mark out a button allowance first, which is about 2 inches. So I'm not going to make use of a total of 2 inches. I just marked it just in case. Now after that, you go over to mark your basic measurement, which includes your shoulder to bust line, your shoulder to under bust line, your shoulder to waist line, and then your shirt length. So measure any shirt measurement of your choice. Next, I will mark my shoulder divided by 2 and mark come down by 1 inch here, and I'm going to go ahead to place my neckline. I'll just mark a basic neckline of 3 inches, which will serve as a guide. Now I'm just going to go ahead to connect this all the way to the upper part of to the lower part of my pattern, that is that 1 inch I have on the shoulder point. Next, I'm going to find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and I'll draw a straight line there. Now after I'm done marking, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to mark back what I have on the shoulder, which is my shoulder divided by 2, place my ruler and draw a straight line. Now I'm going to divide my armhole into 2 equal parts, and I will mark come out by ½ inch. Here I'm going to place my tape and mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Now what I'll do is to connect from this point all the way to the armhole and to the upper part of my pattern. So after I'm done marking that, I'll just go ahead to blend out. The next step is to go ahead to mark my measurement. So for this, you don't need a dart for this pattern, although if you want to, you can go ahead to mark. So I'll just add my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. So I'm going to mark my under bust circumference divided by 4 and add a sewing allowance and ease also. Now for this shirt, you don't need much sewing allowance. ½ inch or 1 is okay. Then you can add ease to it because it's not a fitted shirt. Now go ahead to mark your hip circumference at the lower part and then add your sewing allowance plus ease. Let's say your bust is 34, you can use 35 inches, then add extra 1 inch to it for ease and or sewing allowance. That way the shirt won't be that free or on you or be that tight on you. So now after marking that, I'll come up by 2 inches here, and I'll go ahead to place my ruler, and I'm going to extend this all the way to the lower part this way. Now after I'm done marking that, I'll go back and measure my basic neckline of 3 inches on this point. Now I'm going to be slanting this to create the neckline. So from the bust line, I'll come down by 1 inch, and from here I'll mark 1.5 inches where I want the button allowance to start. So I'll connect it all the way down and also mark here. So I'm using about 1.5 inches and I will connect. So I'm going to connect this all the way going down. Now this helps you like draft out the front part of this shirt. So for this button allowance, you can go ahead to like recut a straight fabric after you're done drafting your shirt and use it to replace it. But this will help get the shape of the actual shirt. From the waistline, I went up by 1 inch and I'll slant it down. So I'll just go ahead and continue marking this 1.5 inches and I'll slant it going down to the blouse length area of my dress. Now after this, I'll just go ahead to blend it out to this point. Now this is what I have here, and I'll go ahead to reconnect this line. At this point, I'll make a mark at the under bust and towards the waist area. So this is where we have like that ruche on the dress. So you're going to do a slash and spread. So at the upper part of this dress, you know it's an halter neck or backless shirt. You have an extension at the upper part. So for a basic neckline for a back is usually 3 by 1 inch. Now if you measure that 3 by 1 inch, what you get is a basic neckline of 3.5 for the measurement. So I'll also still go ahead to measure the back neckline when I'm drafting the back, just to show you what I mean. Now I'll just go ahead to connect this. After I'm done connecting it, I measured 3.5 up and I connected it. So from the tip of my shoulder, I'll connect this back to the armhole of the dress. Now I'll just go ahead to cut out the shirt. So note, you'll be cutting this unfold, like you'll be cutting this pattern into two. So just like I said, this button allowance area, you can always cut it out and replace it with another fabric, right? You mustn't use this pattern that you cut out. So all you have to do is measure what you have here. Now we'll be cutting this out. Now after cutting this out, when you're cutting, not towards the point where you have that ruche, which is the underbust and waist area. So I'll just go ahead to create a little slash and spread there. You'll be using a slash and spread to achieve this. So open it up. Now what you do is take this your pattern and you're going to like place it on another fabric, right? Now you're going to open it up and trace it out. So now this is why you also need to notch your button allowance, because that part you notched will now help you as a guide to know where to ruche it back or pleat it back to your shirt this way. So I'll now go ahead to attach this back to my pattern. So you'll be cutting out two pieces for your button allowance. So for your back pattern, all you have to do is mark out your shoulder to bust, your shoulder to waist, and your blouse length right at the back. So after you're done marking this, I'll just mark this basic neckline of 3 inches by 1, because we are going to measure it to know if I am accurate for the extension we added for the front part of this neckline. So what you do is to go ahead to measure it to know if it's the same measurement. I'll do it later. So for this shirt, you can decide to add like a dart at the back of your shirt, or you can just cut it as one piece, like a dartless pattern. So if I'm adding a dart, you mark ½ inch on both sides of your back pattern, come down by 1 inch from the bust, and you're going to connect. Also at this point, you mark like 4 inches here, and you're going to place your ruler to connect, and also connect at the other side. Now after you're done connecting, you're going to mark your bust circumference divided by 4 and add your sewing allowance. Mark your waist circumference divided by 4. If you're using a dart, replace it and add your sewing allowance. Now mark your hip circumference and add your sewing allowance. If you're not using a dart, there's no need adding a dart, replacing any dart measurement. What you just mark is your body circumference plus your sewing allowance. Now I'll just go ahead to connect this pattern. So after that, I'll just come up by 2 inches, which is for how we came up for the front pattern, and I'll connect this. Now after I'm done connecting this, the next step I'll take is to go ahead to measure this neckline. So after measuring it, what I have is 3.5, and remember for the extension of the front neckline we added 3.5. Now I'll just go ahead to mark ½ inch here and connect it down. So this is so that the upper part of the shirt won't be popping up. After that, I'll just go ahead and cut this out. After cutting this out, we are done with the back pattern. So you can go ahead to sew up your dart, or if you're not using a dart, you can just cut it out that way. So this is what I have on the back pattern.